It was February 21st, 2018, a Wednesday. With just a few days left in the Pyeongchang Olympics, this was the last real chance for Americans to medal in a sport they hadn't medaled in 42 years.
It is a wide open race.
And a sport that American women had never medaled in.
Away we go then.
On this day was the women's team sprint, and the American team had set themselves up with a decent chance. After hanging on to the best two teams in the world, Norway and Sweden, American Kikkan Randall handed off to her anchor leg, Jessie Diggins.
Here we go.
But ahead of her were the two best sprinters in the world, Olympic sprint champion Stina Nielsen of Sweden and other Olympic sprint champion Mika Kaspersen-Falla of Norway. But Jessie Diggins didn't have to beat them. All she had to do was hang on to the group and preserve just enough energy to finish in third and break the Olympic curse. That's when she took the lead. That's not saving energy.
Diggins, Falla, and Nielsen.
Here comes Diggins.
What's most surprising about the US being in a position to medal in 2018 is that this shouldn't be a surprise at all. Cross-country skiing is an American sport. Like, it was invented here. It's American as hell. Let me explain. Thousands of years ago, people in northern Scandinavia did ski, that's true, and some claim skis were used in China before that, but get out of here, China, you can't have everything. The first documented significant cross-country ski thing happened in the year 1205 during the Norwegian Civil War. A rival gang set off to kill the 18-month-old Prince Håkon Håkonsson, but his dad, King Håkon, I know lots of Håkons, had his two best skiers carry the prince 30 miles over the Norwegian mountains to safety. They made it downhill skiing in this Hollywood recreation because downhill skiing is cooler. Prince Håkon would later become King Håkon, the next king, like after his dad, who was also named King Håkon, and unite Norway after more than 1,000 years of civil war. This was just the beginning of wartime skiing. Scandinavian countries trained battalions of soldiers on skis because how else do you have war in the tundra? As a result, covert cross-country skiers dismantled Nazi Germany's atom bomb facility. And even though Norwegians blew it up, that's kind of American. So far, all this ski history is Norwegian or Scandinavian, I hear you. But that's classic or classical cross-country skiing we're talking about, where your skis are in the tracks and you're striding, kind of like running while wearing some pretty cool high socks. There's a whole other type of skiing. I gotta show you something. So I'm not wearing any high socks, but this is classic skiing. In the tracks here, everything classic skiing is in these tracks. And this is skate skiing. Totally different, out of the tracks, skiing diagonally. It's much faster. That's what I came here to show you. And that right there, skate skiing, is American. To confirm this, I called Chad Salmela, NBC commentator for all of the Olympic cross-country skiing events.
Bartoszka Fialkova has the power and she senses it.
He's quite literally the most studied, experienced, and perfect person to prove that cross-country skiing is in fact an American sport.
To say skiing is an American sport is a bit of a stretch. I think that the sport actually, it originated long before the United States or America ever existed.
Okay, well, obviously Chad is quite literally the least experienced person to talk on this subject, so I'll do it. It was 1976, the Innsbruck Olympic Games. The best American finish in an Olympic cross-country skiing event was 44 years prior as a 15th place finish. So leave it up to this man, Bill Koch, to change that. He had raced in a 30-kilometer event exactly 2 times before, so he was maybe the least qualified person to perform well in the entire field. But take a look at this shot. Look at how he pumps his skis in the tracks to gain a few seconds here and there. The dude was onto something. So much so, he finished in 2nd place in the 30-kilometer and won a silver medal for the United States, America's first cross-country ski medal. At the time, Sports Illustrated called it the greatest Olympic comeback in history. It's probably not anymore, but it's still a cool fact. In that moment, Bill became an icon. He seemed to think about skiing differently than most. When Bill strapped into his skis, he was wild and free. But one thing in particular changed the sport forever. A pretty simple thing. Instead of moving his skis parallel in the tracks, he began experimenting with skiing diagonally. Because of this newfound technique, Bill was able to win the overall World Cup in 1982, something an American had never even come close to before.
Bill Cook is credited with inventing the freestyle skating cross-country skiing technique. Since 1982, this technique has revolutionized both biathlon and Nordic combined events.
So what do you have to say about that then?
I'm going to guess he saw it. I'm going to guess that he saw somebody doing it and applied it. Bill was an innovative guy. I think that was also a nice thing about him being American, is I think that he wasn't really stuck in an idea of what the top of a cross-country ski racing should be at the time. And he turned it on its side.
Bill Coke of the United States, the best we have. And Bill was off to a flying start. He almost slipped.
But by 1984, cross-country skiers began doing all sorts of weird stuff. And unfortunately for Bill Coke, almost everyone was pushing off with one ski.
So what you saw in the first part of the ski revolution, it was probably American, a little bit of American, or a lot of American influence, because Bill Coke won the World Cup in '82. I mean, partially because he's a really good skier, but largely because he had a little bit of an edge on everybody as well.
The Finns caught on, the Swedes started skating, and even this absolute tree trunk of a man was skate skiing.
The single biggest revolution in the sport of cross-country skiing occurred in the early 1980s, and it was pioneered by Bill Coke. The diagonal stride was abandoned for a faster and what some people say more efficient way of skiing, quite simply called the skate, where the skiers would skate across the snow. But now they're past that first 100 meters, and they are skating.
And by 1987, skate skiing was so synonymous with the sport, it wasn't really skate skiing anymore, but just skiing.
I do remember articles kind of and stances being taken on it being ugly and not what the sport is. But by Oberstdorf in '87, it went full skating. And that's kind of where the modern sport took off, I think, right there.
Bill Coke's prominent American mark on the sport set up other Americans for decades of cross-country ski dominance, winning Olympic medals and crushing Scandinavian countries into oblivion.
Just outside, oh, would you believe that?
Just kidding. It was quite the opposite. As Bill Coke was on his way to retirement, the sport of cross-country skiing changed again, this time in a more sinister way.
The real golden age of doping started when athletes and coaches, and probably doctors and coaches more than athletes, figured out that there were cancer drugs that created red blood cells.
You know, if you wanted to compete in my era, you needed to dope.
I know about this, he said. They were all, as you say, doing the doping.
It was pretty clear by the mid-1990s that there was a problem in pretty much all sports.
And cross-country skiing was no exception. This woman was a doper. This guy was a suspected doper. This guy, I suspect was a doper. And throughout the 2000s, studies show about 70 cross-country skiing medalists had at least one suspicious blood test in their career. This is precisely the reason the US were not dominant in the aftermath of Bill Coke. Because as the shining example of the world, Americans would never cheat.
I don't think any nation can claim complete innocence I don't think the United States certainly can't. I mean, even in Nordic skiing, we have history of it being done for championship events.
Whatever. All right, take it easy.
If you are putting your life on hold to be a world-class athlete and somebody offers you an easier way to get there, I think more people would do it than you realize.
Then we had America's next great hope for a medal, Kikkan Randall. In 2002, Kikkan made her Olympic debut. She finished in 44th place, but she was only 19 years old, emitting a glimmer of hope for the United States. 4 years later, at the 2006 Olympics, she finished in 9th, a record best ever performance by an American woman.
My ultimate goal of being on that Olympic podium someday was in fact possible.
And 3 years later, she won a silver medal at the 2009 World Championships, the first since Bill Coke. While a great achievement, it's still no Olympic medal. Yet. That same year in 2009 is where I enter the story. Here's a picture of me with a young Jessie Diggins on our way to the cross-country skiing Junior Olympics. As a workout before the races, our coach had the Midwest team compete in what's known as a team sprint. Okay, so I'm running out of time to finish this video, so we're just gonna explain this on the whiteboard. Each team sprint team consists of 2 skiers, a lead-off leg and an anchor leg. The lead-off leg starts the race. They do a regular loop as they go up and down hills, around corners, into the finish area, but instead of finishing, they hand off to the anchor leg. The anchor leg skis the exact same loop. Each team member skis each loop 3 times. And the anchor leg skis the exact same loop, but instead of handing off to their teammate, they come in and finish the race. And that is a team sprint. I feel like that didn't make any sense, but whatever. In order to make the teams fair, our coach paired up the fastest female skier, Jessie Diggins, with the slowest male skier, me. She was so much faster than I was slow that we won the race. I would imagine that was Jessie's first ever team sprint. 4 years later, in 2013, Jessie teamed up with someone a little bit better than me, Kikkan Randall. They won the World Championship team sprint.
The USA has never been on the top of the podium in cross country, and today we made history.
Which was a good sign for the 2014 Olympics, possibly Kikkan's final Olympics. Her and Jessie were favorites to win a medal. Unfortunately, Kikkan missed the sprint final by a fraction of a second in a photo finish. Another Olympics gone by, and no medals to show for it. They'd have to wait until the Pyeongchang Olympics for their next chance. But a lot can happen in 4 years. In fact, the very next year, Kikkan made the decision to have a baby. She trained through pregnancy. After he was born, she trained with her child. And in 2016, she returned to competition to finish in, well, 52nd. But she improved ever so gradually. By 2017, she finished on the World Cup podium for the first time in 3 years, solidifying her spot on the Olympic team. Then came the 2018 Olympics. Based on her results thus far, coaches decided to pair up Jessie and Kikkan one final time for the team sprint. Which brings us full circle. Despite, again, not prioritizing saving energy, Jessie takes the lead.
Almost 3 wide for the gold medal on the final climb. But here comes Diggins, sensing the moment, sensing the history at stake for Team USA. Diggins trying to get in on the outside. Sweden, the US, and Norway coming to the line. Here comes Diggins. Here comes Diggins. Diggins making the play around Sweden. Jessie Diggins to the line. And it is Jessie Diggins delivering a landmark moment that will be etched in US Olympic history. The first ever cross-country gold medal for the US. It's a gold medal for the United States. It's not just a medal, it's the gold.
And that was the day cross-country skiing was American.
For me, it's the coolest thing ever to feel like I can pay it forward and be that poster on the wall for somebody else, just like Bill Koch and Kikkan were for me. And I just, I want to be able to be that person for the next generation.
So I know that was kind of an epic ending. I just wanted to butt in here and just say to subscribe because I'm gonna make some more videos. That's all.